through crashing my drone. We've been flying in the local park just here, which is not great for drone flying. It's got big trees, it's got little trees, and it is absolutely surrounded by houses. But it's where we've sort of been practicing and learning and trying to fly our drones. I've just had a massive big crash in this. These were brand new blades. You can see they look a bit secondhand now. All scratched, there's big lumps on that one. The scratches aren't too bad, but she's just had a really big crash, and this blade here got broken. You see the crack in that. And this top over here, I've got another video to show you how to change the blades out. The back half of this got broken out, and so the little pin came spinning out, so there's nothing now holding that propeller on. It didn't fly off. When I found it, that was like half off. The pin was gone and the little cap over the top was gone. But also, sadly, when it hit the ground, it has split open here. So I'm going to have to open it up and put that back together. It does still connect, and I'm hoping once I look at the angle on that blade, that's all looking a bit sad, isn't it? I think it will be fine. Syma drones, they are just toy grade, but I'll tell you what, I've crashed this a lot of times. And it's really good. I do have a HD camera which goes underneath as well. No doubt you'll see some footage from that on my channel if I can ever learn to fly this well enough. But the professional grade drones, definitely, they will hover and they'll hold position and they'll return to home. They'll do all those things. You know, you can get drones with collision avoidance so they won't run into anything. This has none of that. And I've got some things to show you. Also put another video up, I can put a link up to it here, about some of the things on the control, because I was doing okay at the start and then the controls just went psycho on me. All of a sudden left was right and right was left, and it was all over the place. And I found out you can, rather than something being wrong with the controls, you can actually change the controls for different configurations. So I had to get it back to the base flying configuration. But what I wanted to talk about here was one major thing I learned from crashing my drone, and that is the way this does its steering is through the acceleration of these propellers as they spin quickly and fly. Now, what happens when you're flying, if you happen to be flying and then you think, oh my gosh, I'm too high, you know, I'm up here somewhere, way above the roofline and all the rest of it, you immediately want to throttle down on your remote. I need to have my remote here, but throttle down on the remote, the left-hand pin, so that it can not get any higher, but it can drop altitude while you're flying. But in actual fact, that's the absolute wrong thing to do, because in order to have your steering, you've got to have these spinning at least to hover, and it will steer even more when it's accelerating. So by backing it off and having it lose altitude, what I've found is that you then lose all steering. So what was happening, you know, look at that peaceful and calm it is now, but half an hour ago there was really gusty wind and puffing, and the wind just took it over the top of those houses and far away. Just by the grace of God that we got it back, it actually landed in a backyard on its feet. We were able to take off again from the backyard. Standing outside, we just thought we roughly knew where it was, so got back to a laneway beside it and then tried to take off, and sure enough, the drone popped up between two houses. I don't know if someone blessed me and put it back on its feet or what happened, but it was able to take off again. And then we got it back by flying even further, not the direction we wanted in particular, but we ended up with it back anyway. So, but the big tip here is that when you're flying, if you go too high and start to panic and start to decelerate in order to not gain more altitude, you will hugely lose the amount of steering that you have. So if your drone gets up too high and you start to get out of control, you need to keep the accelerator on, so it's either gaining a little bit of altitude or at least hovering, in order to try and then get this, work out the steering as to which way to bring it back to where you want it to be. And in high winds, like what I had here, that's just really hard, because I had no steering at all, but I had powered down in order to try to not get so much altitude. But the problem just compounded. I was taking off and it was drifting further away. I was taking off, it was drifting further and further. I just couldn't get it to come back because the wind up high was just too great. So yeah, definitely don't fly in congested areas on high wind days and think you'll get away with it, because it just can get absolutely out of control. But that's the tip for this video. if you are getting too much altitude and starting to lose control and it's getting too far away from you, you've got to keep it at least hovering or going up a little bit in order to have good steering dynamics going on, because it's the drive of the propellers and the varying drive which tilts and steers this. Whereas if you've got them all spinning down, either off, obviously it's not going to do anything, but spinning slowly, then you just don't get any drive and you get no steering. So that's some of what I've learned through crashing my drone.